Imagine encountering a 24-meter monster on your next dive. It sounds like a movie, but that's exactly the size of the Megalodon, the largest predator to ever rule the Earth's oceans. What if it were still alive today? Just the thought sparks a mix of fascination and fear, an invitation to explore a world where the balance of the sea would be completely different. In this video, we'll uncover incredible curiosities, historical facts, and mysteries surrounding this colossal creature. Get ready to discover how life in the ocean would change, and how the Megalodon's disappearance opened space for what we know today. If you're curious, love interesting facts, and want to understand what lies behind this giant, stay with me. What we're about to reveal will stir your imagination, and maybe even your fear of the sea. Have you ever heard of the Megalodon? Well, it wasn't just a big shark. New discoveries show it could grow up to 80 feet long, almost twice what we used to think. To give you an idea, it would be like two huge excavators swimming side by side. And the curious part, even with that massive size, it was fast. Scientists found giant vertebrae over 9 inches wide and realized its body was built for speed. That means it wasn't just big, it was agile. A predator designed to rule the ocean. And to think, for years we thought it was just an oversized great white shark. What's even more interesting is that the Megalodon wasn't all brute force. It was smart, fast, and perfectly adapted to hunt. Just imagine running into something like that in the ocean. You're out on a boat, relaxing, and suddenly a shadow the size of a truck appears, and it's headed straight for you. It was the kind of creature that made everything else run away just by showing up. Its teeth, bigger than your hand, a mystery that still gives people chills. No wonder it's considered one of the most powerful predators in history. And all of this happened underwater, in a time we only know through fossils and curious clues left behind in the depths. Now, here's the wild part. We're only now starting to understand how big it really was. Why? Because the Megalodon's skeleton was made of cartilage, like modern sharks, and cartilage doesn't fossilize well. But thanks to new technology, scientists managed to recreate a much clearer picture. And the result? Terrifying. It was even bigger than we imagined. Makes you think, if we were so wrong about the Megalodon, what other curious historical things are still hidden beneath the ocean? Maybe what's coming next will surprise us even more. When most people think of the Megalodon, they picture an oversized great white shark. But that image is way off. The truth is, it looked more like a supercharged lemon shark. Yes, the smaller, faster kind. Only in the Megalodon's case, everything was dialed up to the extreme. Its body had a sleek, aerodynamic shape, perfect for slicing through the water at high speed. Think of a stealth submarine mixed with a missile. Fast, quiet, and deadly. That changes everything, because we're not just talking about a big animal. We're talking about a living hunting machine, built to give zero chances to its prey. It's an interesting fact that makes one thing clear. If the Megalodon were still alive, it would be every ocean creature's, and maybe even humans', worst nightmare. What's curious is that the more science uncovers, the more we realize it wasn't slow or bulky at all. In fact, the Megalodon was strong, agile, and a smart hunter. It didn't just attack with brute force. It observed, calculated, and struck with precision. Imagine it going after a whale. It would approach from below, fast and silent, and with a single bite, end the hunt. There was no escape. And despite its massive size, it could make quick turns and change direction like a much smaller fish. All this shows that it wasn't just a big predator. It was a mystery of nature, perfectly designed to dominate. Now think about this. If seeing a great white shark on TV already gives people chills, imagine something even more efficient, smarter, and more destructive. If the Megalodon still existed today, ocean tourism would be very different. Diving, not a chance. Surfing, Way too risky. Even fishermen would change their routes. Just imagining it gives you goosebumps. And it's exactly this kind of curiosity that makes us realize how, as beautiful as the ocean is, it hides terrifying secrets. Secrets that remind us just how small we really are in the face of nature's power. And maybe the most surprising part is still waiting to be discovered. It's curious how so many people still believe the Megalodon could be swimming somewhere out there, hiding in the depths of the ocean. The idea is tempting, of course. Thinking that such a massive and powerful creature survived in secret sounds like something out of a movie. But when you stop to look at the historical facts and scientific evidence, everything points to a simple truth. If it were still alive, we would have seen it by now. In the 21st century, with satellites covering nearly every inch of Earth, drones diving deep into the sea, and industrial fishing happening every single day, it would be impossible for a 24-meter creature to go unnoticed. You can't just hide a monster that big for so long. Here's another important point. The Megalodon's body was made of cartilage, just like modern sharks. And cartilage, unlike bone, breaks down quickly and rarely fossilizes. That's why we've never found a full skeleton, only giant teeth and a few scattered vertebrae. But even that has been enough to piece together the puzzle. The teeth, for example, are found all over the world, even in places where the ocean no longer exists. That alone shows how dominant it once was. And here's an interesting fact. If it were still alive, we'd be finding fresh teeth all the time. We'd see new bite marks on whales or even sonar images of a huge shape underwater. But none of that has ever happened. The lack of evidence says a lot. Now think about this. Even animals way smaller than the Megalodon are easily spotted today. A pod of orcas, for example, shows up clearly in drone footage. Even super rare animals like giant squids or deep-sea sharks have been filmed, and many of them live where sunlight doesn't even reach. So why would the Megalodon, being so huge, still be a complete mystery? The answer is, it probably isn't around anymore. But what's fascinating is how people are still obsessed with it. This constant curiosity shows just how much power this animal still holds over our imagination. And even without solid proof, the doubt remains. After all, the ocean is vast, deep, and full of surprises. And if there's one thing we've learned from history, it's that the deep sea still holds many answers. Maybe even about what really happened to the greatest predator the world has ever known. If the Megalodon were still alive today, the ocean would be a completely different place, and a much scarier one. The presence of such a massive predator would change everything, from how whales behave to how people interact with the sea. It's an interesting fact that few people stop to consider. Take whales, for example. They probably wouldn't be as huge as they are now. That's because, with a monster like the Megalodon hunting around, they would have evolved to be smaller, faster, and more agile. In the end, survival means adapting. And in a sea ruled by a super predator, anything that doesn't adapt disappears. It's curious to think that the enormous size of today's whales might only be possible because the Megalodon went extinct. And it wouldn't just affect animals. Our relationship with the ocean would be completely different. Imagine the impact on tourism, fishing, even water sports. Who would risk swimming in the open sea knowing there's a 24-meter-long, fast, and hungry creature lurking nearby? Most likely, beaches would be surrounded by stronger safety nets, and surfing would become an extreme sport. In coastal regions, fishermen would change their routes, avoid certain depths, and stay on high alert for signs of danger. It would be like living with an active volcano in your backyard. You might get used to it, but you'd never really relax. The simple act of diving into the deep blue would require a lot more courage, or maybe just recklessness. And all of this because of a predator that once truly existed. But the impact wouldn't be just physical, it would be psychological too. fear shapes behavior, and the mystery of whether the Megalodon was nearby or not would even affect how we learn about the sea. Documentaries would sound darker. Science would face more limits in field research. Human curiosity would constantly wrestle with a very real fear. We might even invent new technologies just to track the movements of this giant. And like everything that scares and fascinates us at the same time, the Megalodon would become a kind of living legend, like the Loch Ness Monster, except real and deadly. The balance of the ocean would shift. Animal behavior, human culture, and even our exploration of the deep would all be affected. And maybe, if we look closely, we'll realize that the absence of this predator also shaped the entire marine world we know today. Many people like the idea that the Megalodon is still out there, hiding in some deep ocean trench like the Mariana Trench. It's the kind of mystery that fuels videos, theories, and the imagination of those who love giant creatures. But here's an interesting fact. That's practically impossible. Want to know why? Because there isn't enough food down there to support such a massive animal. The trench is cold, dark, and has very little life. Definitely not the kind of place where a 24-meter predator could survive. And there's more. The Megalodon had warm blood. That's right. It was one of the few sharks capable of keeping its body warm, making it even more efficient in cold waters and coastal areas. True super predator. But contrary to what many hope, it's not hiding. It's gone. And when the Megalodon disappeared, something curious happened. The ocean breathed. Without it around, whales started to grow bigger. Animals that were once prey began to fill new spaces in the ecosystem. Marine life, which once lived under the shadow of an unbeatable hunter, got a chance to reorganize. This also opened doors for us humans. Exploring the oceans, which might have been impossible with a Megalodon alive, became possible. Diving technology advanced, research grew, and our presence at sea intensified. It's as if nature hit a reset button and started a new era where balance no longer depended on fear, but on adaptations and new ways of coexistence. It's curious to think that the extinction of a single animal could cause so many changes on the planet. But that's a powerful lesson from history. When an important piece disappears, the whole game changes. The absence of the Megalodon shaped the seas we know today. Migration routes, the size of animals, even the behavior of entire species were affected. Sometimes, what's not present speaks as loudly as what is. And even though it vanished millions of years ago, the legacy of the Megalodon still lives on. In the way the ocean transformed, in the curiosities it still inspires, and in the endless fascination with creatures that push the limits of what we think is possible. But what if it hadn't disappeared? Would we be here trying to understand all this? Or running from something way bigger than ourselves? So, have you ever stopped to think about what would really happen if the Megalodon were still among us? Would the ocean be a more dangerous place? Or just a stage for the greatest mysteries we're still trying to unravel? I want to hear your opinion. Do you think this giant could really be hiding in the depths? Or is it just another legend feeding our curiosity? Leave your comment below and let's chat. If you enjoyed this deep dive into historical facts, mysteries, and curiosities, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any videos. There's much more coming, and the next discovery might be even more surprising. Let's explore the secrets of the ocean and beyond together. See you next time.